Breaking news for the Ripple and XRP community as Ripple has applied for a U.S. national banking license. And today we're going to be drawing upon some connections, not only from the Federal Reserve, but from the Fed Now Faster Payments Council that shows us not only do they plan to leverage the RLUSD stablecoin, they plan on leveraging the XRP ledger as well. Hello and welcome back to another episode of your favorite crypto news related channel. If you enjoy this content, smash that like button and subscribe. Ripple officially applied for a U.S. national banking license only 48 hours after Circle, another stablecoin provider, filed to become a U.S. national bank. Now, why is this important? What they are filing for is direct access to the Federal Reserve's liquidity. And this is the impact that it would have not only on the Ripple stablecoin, but also on the XRP community. Now, a Federal Reserve master account would supercharge Ripple's RLUSD stablecoin by providing direct access to the Federal Reserve payment system. This would eliminate any counterparty risk and enhance global competitiveness. It would also strengthen Ripple's institutional payment network, driving RLUSD adoption. Now, for the XRP holders out there, the benefits include increased XRP ledger activity, greater institutional adoption, reduced regulatory risk, and improved market perception of all that would boost XRP's utility and value. Now, what are the greatest misconceptions about the crypto market today? That it is a threat to banking. Crypto is not a threat to banking. It is built to enhance banking. It is a threat to the US dollar. And I believe that the Ripple stablecoin is going to play a major role in bringing the evolution of finance into the American markets. But live chat, I would love to hear ones if you saw this coming, twos if this was a big surprise. Now, before we get into the details about the Federal Reserve, Johnny, what's your initial reaction? Ripple taking one step closer to getting access to the Federal Reserve's liquidity.
These guys know what they're doing at. You can't play in the space that they want to play if you don't have the right approvals with the right entities. And they understand that. And that's what's going to help. The key word that you mentioned, the benefits. Why does this matter? Well, because we need adoption, folks. That XRP moving back and forth, we want more and more of it used on a daily transactional basis, which is going to help drive the trading volumes, which we know then there's a multiplier factor on top of that, which drives the price up. So abs, to me, fantastic news. This is why when you're doing your research, folks, look into the leadership of who's running those entities because it matters.
This is what Brad Garlinghouse had to say, and it's the second paragraph that I believe is most important. Now, lucky for the XRP community, we do have the best CEO in all of crypto, and earlier this week, Brad Garlinghouse announced this. Via standard custody, we have applied for a Fed master account. Now, while Congress is working on clear rules and regulations, banks are beginning to lean in. This access would allow us to hold RLUSD reserves directly with the Fed and provide an additional layer of security for the proof of trust in RLUSD, making it fully compliant, fully regulated, and most importantly, fully transparent for RLUSD users. But that's not the exciting content that our listeners showed up for. We're going to draw upon some even bigger connections here because the United States Faster Payments Council had a Ripple representative talking about the evolution of finance and how Ripple is set to be a centerpiece going forward.
Hello, everyone. I'm Pat Thielen. I'm the Vice President of Global Account Management at Ripple. We truly believe that there is an internet of value coming, much like the internet provided with communications and email in the 90s and through the beginning of the millennium. Today, the payment system is advancing. And unlike a lot of the other crypto players in Ripple space, we truly believe that the revolution is going to occur from within. So the ecosystem that the U.S. Faster Payments Council has put together will be those players that will make sure we advance the industry. The working groups that are coming out, it's the cross-border, the QR, the directory model. These are really opportunities to take that user experience, the interoperability that has been designed in the other initiatives and really apply it to real-world problems. Many countries have leapfrogged the U.S. in real-time payments. So this is a real opportunity for us to leverage a body like this. The playing field is set. And you can either sit on the sidelines or suit up with U.S. Faster Payments Council and change the game.
There you have it, Johnny Krypto. Could you ask for a stronger statement out of the Ripple representative right there? And one quick comment before we kick it back to you. It's been being developed since 2015. Ripple originally joined the U.S. Faster Payments Council during that calendar year. So this isn't some new narrative. This is a decade-long narrative being developed in the background and ready to be implemented into the United States economy. Now, why does that benefit XRP investors? This is the moment we've all been waiting for. And I believe it was the end of the Ripple versus SEC lawsuit that we saw just a couple of days ago that led us up to announcements like this. And we are only going to see more American announcements out of Ripple going forward. But Johnny, what's the biggest difference between the Bitcoin community and the XRP community? The XRP community is working to enhance banking. The Bitcoin community is working to exit the banking system. And so I think that as we read through a lot of these developments, one thing is absolutely clear. Ripple's vision of working with the largest financial liquidity providers on the planet, it's coming to fruition in real time, and RLUSD is going to play a major role, but the XRP ledger is going to be that settlement layer that connects all of these different ecosystems together, guys. If you're enjoying this content, just a quick reminder, smash that like button and subscribe to the brand new Good Evening Crypto channel for representative telling us the US Faster Payments Council is the future and Ripple's playing a major role.
I mean, to me, Abs, if you think about it, we talk about this all the time, speculation versus utility. And I always tell you it's about a 10 to 12, 14-year window from speculation all the way to when we get real world utility. And as you talked about, this started back in 2015 when they started working on utility. Here we are 10 years later and we're not there yet, but they're close. And that lines up perfectly with the speculation to utility timeframe, where we're just around that 12 to 14-year window. So within the next year or two, yes, we will probably see that happening, this utility take off. That lines up perfectly with the timing. And more importantly, Bitcoin being a movement away from the banking system, and there'll be a certain use case there that's going to happen. You ain't stopping it, right? It's going to be a store of value. We heard Matt Hogan talk about that. And then there's Ripple, who's trying to solve a different use case, which is, okay, for the banking system, how is it going to operate in the future? How do you make it efficient, cheaper, better, faster? Well, XRP is the answer, Abs, and that's why it's super exciting. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with investing in both, because both use cases are going to exist.
And that's why we do invest in both, guys. But I wanted to provide this key detail here. If this is approved, Johnny, it would allow Ripple to onboard institutional investors into the RLUSD token in a fully regulated way. And the biggest detail here, we would be regulated by the OCC, the Office of the Comptrollers of Currency, which is far more transparent, much easier to follow from a regulatory standpoint than the SEC, because the securities market has all these different nuances. And it's actually one of the reasons that Ripple was able to be sued by the SEC, but the OCC said they always definitively viewed XRP as a payment mechanism. So very big structural difference in how they even view these technologies.
Yeah, I mean, Abs, you kind of nailed it. The most important part of the whole thing here is, we heard Matt Hogan talk about this yesterday on the show the other day. He literally said, these guys don't want to get sued. How do you get institutions that are worried about getting sued to use your technology if it's considered unregulated or a scam, right? Well, when you go and get the gold standard and you apply for a master account and you get approved, you've got the golden seal of approval, baby. Now it's like, hey, we're open for business. Which one of your institutions want to play with us? And who wants to lower their costs and make more money? Who ain't going to want a piece of that? And that's why I'm super excited about this move, because they put themselves in a position now where they've got the gold standard of approval, if they get it, where it's going to allow them to be able to operate with all these different companies. And that's going to create adoption. Adoption creates demand. Demand means price go up, and everybody gets a lake house.
We are going to do an XRP price chart breakdown. Be sure to stick around until the end of the video. But I know there's a lot of people out there who are saying, yeah, this is good for the Ripple stablecoin, and yeah, this is good for the company Ripple. But how does it impact XRP? And I quickly referenced this earlier. I'd love to deep dive on this together right now. For XRP, the benefits include increased XRP ledger activity, meaning a greater amount of US dollars trading on the ledger every single day. Greater institutional adoption. We just talked about this is going to allow Ripple to onboard institutional clients into the RLUSD stablecoin, inevitably bringing more dollar bills into the XRP ledger. They're also going to have a reduced regulatory risk, fully compliant with the largest liquidity provider on the planet in the Federal Reserve. And finally, improved market perception, all of which could boost XRP's utility and value. And the perception part of this is important, but compared to an OCC charter, a master account offers unparalleled access and influence, positioning Ripple and XRP as the leaders in digital finance. So when people say this is only good for the Ripple stablecoin, trust me, guys, this is great for the XRP ledger as well. Smash that like button if you agree this is bullish for the XRP ledger. Johnny Krypto, floor is yours.
100% bullish for it. More importantly, the last part of what you said is the most important. The relationships and the connections you have when you're now blessed by the Fed, forget about it. Now you're talking to the right people. You're able to have the kind of conversations that need to be had to enable if there's a hiccup somewhere, right? So to me, again, they put themselves in a great position. Super happy for them. Super happy for us, because like you said, the ultimate benefit will come down, I think, to the value will be brought to the XRP ledger, which ultimately is XRP, which means everybody who's here early should be excited.
And this is just the beginning for the XRP community here, because Brad Garlinghouse announced after the resolution of the Ripple versus SEC lawsuit, they are focused on what's most important, building the internet of value. And I think our listeners, they don't need to be reminded, but I'll give them a quick reminder. There are 1,700 different NDAs that have been signed and agreed upon behind the scenes with Ripple. And my belief is now that this lawsuit is over, we are going to see dozens, if not hundreds, NDAs come and enter the American markets. And the big one that we've been keeping an eye on is Bank of America. Now, we've showed you this clip before, but I believe definitively here in 2025, it is short videos like this that are more important than ever. Here it is.
Another one you like is Ripple. You said it is the coin to be looking at right now.
Absolutely.
Why?
Okay, so Ripple actually was the second largest coin prior to the SEC's investigation of them. They did this really weird lawsuit against them. And basically, the Ripple's going to be the track that everything's going to be running on in the future. So they created their own stable coin right now.
Okay.
And Bank of America, like I said, they were doing 100% of their internal transactions. They've got 83 different patents on it. And there's some incredible stuff that's going to be coming out.
So for a long time, we often reference the lawsuit as a reason that this information could not be released yet. With all of this political uncertainty being removed here and Brad Garlinghouse confirming Ripple's not focused on the regulators anymore. They are focused on building the internet of value. We are going to break down the XRP price chart, guys, but Johnny Krypto, floor is yours.
We know for sure. I like how he said, well, for this weird reason. Yeah, there was definitely, listen, XRP represents a threat to a certain community, a certain group of banking institutions that could hurt their profits, right? And I think that when they figure out how to adopt it and turn it into the ability to profit for them, which is where I think we're headed now. We're seeing the end of the lawsuit. We're seeing a potential banking license coming up. We're seeing all this positive news and catalysts for XRP that they're allowed to play in the space that for the past 4 years, Abs, they haven't been able to. Remember what Brad said? We had to go play outside the U.S., he said. Could do nothing in the U.S. Now, all of a sudden, they have a ton of traction. So something shifted somewhere. Now, obviously, we know President Trump and winning the election. That was a big deal. We know that helped a lot. I mean, the guy's Brad's sitting there having dinner with Trump. Okay. Okay, you can't ask for a better relationship there. So that whole relationship maturing now, and Ripple moving into pole position for winning all these institutions and these technology and with the best technology out there. To me, Abs, they're in such a great position that God, it's so exciting that we're in so early and we're getting to see the sausage being made. You talked about 1,700 NDAs. 100 to 200 of those will probably come into fruition and turn into real life business. And it's good. That's why it's super exciting.
Guys, I'd love to hear, what is your 2025 peak XRP price projection? Comment that underneath the video. We're going to begin breaking down an analysis here. And Johnny, this is something we've said for a very long time. Looking at the XRP price chart, we have found sustained value above $2. And even the largest macroeconomic catalyst cannot bring us below that price target for more than 2 hours. Even when you look at some of these other altcoins, whether it's Ethereum, whether it's Solana, even a project that's done well like Cardano, these products have dramatically pulled back since the November pump. And more importantly, they have not broken their 2021 all-time highs. Cardano was $3. It only reached $1 now. Look at XRP. We not only passed our all-time high back in 2021 of $1.90, we used that as support during this entire accumulation range. And now we're getting ready for our next leg up. And I've done an analysis on this. I'll do it once again. When we did the measured move on the XRP bull flag that we're witnessing here, it takes us to $3.88. Now, why is that important? If we reach $3.88, we are in uncharted territories for the XRP price chart, for the XRP community, and for global investors all around the world to look at this project and say, not only is this going to pass Ethereum eventually, this may even be a competitor to Bitcoin over the next decade or so. 388's on the horizon. This is the moment we've all been waiting for.
The fact that the next extension takes us to all-time high, that's not coincidence. That's just how these markets work, that is going to be the natural next test point of where we go to. Now, the question is, what happens there? 3 scenarios. 1, we hit it and we crash quickly like it did the first time. 2, we hit it and we bust through it and we keep going up. Or 3, we hit it and we go sideways and consolidate. My guess is the third option. I think we're going to hit it. A little play. There's going to be a big battle there. And then I think if we hold it, Abs, and we go sideways, that's a beautiful thing. Because then we're starting the next bull flag for the next leg up. And the next leg up, as we talked about on other shows. So to me, I'm super excited about that. That is a beautiful looking bull flag curve. And I think we're just getting started, my friend. We're not at the end of this thing. I think we're at the beginning.
Guys, if you like and appreciate this content, smash that like button and subscribe. This is XRP Ledger developer Chris Larson talking about why they built XRP. And Johnny, I'll spoil this. They built XRP to be a better Bitcoin.
When Bitcoin came along, it was like, okay, that's it. And then, after a couple of years after that, there was a group of really, really smart people, way smarter than that I got together with. And basically, they're trying to create a better Bitcoin, if you will. So a non-government online currency, but that didn't, burn a lot of electricity and was sort of faster and had more flow through. And, many entrepreneurs came, after that period.
So, Johnny, what I think is interesting about that is not only were they looking at creating a better product back in 2012, here we are in 2025 and Bitcoin remains that top dog. But Chris Larson outlined, you've said it forever, technology, cheaper, faster, better, more reliable. XRP checks every single one of those boxes compared to Bitcoin. What are your thoughts on what Chris Larson had to say? XRP was built to be a better Bitcoin.
It was built to be better because that's what you do. You look at what technology is in the field at the time when you're developing yours, or you look to see the great thing when another technology is launched, apps, and they're the first mover. The second mover usually gets the advantage. Do you know why? They're called a fast follower. You know why? Because you get to look at the mistakes the first guy made and you learn from them and you fix those. And they saw it was slow. They saw it was power hungry, right? And they said, how do we solve for this? How do we make transactions faster? And that's all the things. So that's why you said when you check off all the boxes, sure. When the first guy's out there, you know what he did. He screwed up. You get to fix it and get to be the beneficiary. And I think that's going to be the reason why we're all going to get generational wealth off this, because they were able to look at where the shortfalls were of the Bitcoin technology and how to create a solve for that solves a real world use case. And that's why this is going to be a massive, massive opportunity for generational wealth.
Ripple is going to play a major role in the evolution of finance, and it starts right here inside the United States. And I believe that what's in the process of being created is a modern day global economy with an instant settlement layer, removing borders and bringing us under a one financial economy mindset. And so whether you believe it's true, whether you believe it's not, here's what we can do to use it to our advantage. We can look at this market and figure out which products we are able to understand that are working with the largest financial players on the planet and who will be here over the long haul. Because it's not about which project outperforms over the next 6 to 8 months. It's about which of these projects is set to outperform for the next 6, 8, 10, 12 years here in the crypto space. So we appreciate you all, and we'll see you in the next one.